Welcome to the next installment of the Miami Group Sierra Club Virtual Backpack Series.
All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome again to the next installment of the Miami Group Sierra Club's virtual outing series. We want to thank our partners in this endeavor, Roads, Rivers, and Trails of Milford and Summit Trek and Trail. Thank for their support. And we began these virtual presentations back beginning of COVID when our in-person outings were shut down. The good news is that our in-person outings are now back, and you can follow us on Meetup to find out all the details of what we're offering as far as hiking, biking, backpacking, and other great outdoor adventures. But please go out to Meetup and start following us and find out what's going on in the real world. But we really enjoy these virtual presentations as well. We certainly recognize that COVID is far from over, and that there's still a lot of people who are probably not comfortable with an in-person presence, and also it allows us to reach a lot of people that we might not otherwise meet. So we thank you all for joining us throughout this. With that, I want to introduce our speaker. Our topic tonight is Leave No Trace, and it's a pleasure to have Rob Pinchot here with us tonight, who is a Leave No Trace trainer, has been since 2017. Does this with a lot of youth groups, and so we certainly appreciate him being with us tonight. So take it away, Rob.
All right, thanks, Barry. Thanks for everyone for joining. I'll just jump right into it. We'll have an interaction later in the discussion, but again, what I want to do tonight is just introduce to people what is Leave No Trace. Leave No Trace is 7 principles of how we can act in the outdoor environment to make it better and to make it available for the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. We as humans love the outdoors, but we think we own the outdoors. We've got to share it with everybody. So hopefully I'll go through my PowerPoint presentation. I'll go faster than normal. I don't want to put everybody to sleep here at 7 o'clock at night. But like I said, I want to introduce the 7 principles. Go through the hand signals because it's easy to remember if you do the hand signals, and then again have the discussion at the end. So few plugs. I am a Boy Scout leader, and I am a Leave No Trace trainer, so I got dressed for the occasion. Yes, that is my Boy Scout uniform. That is a sign that's at one of the Boy Scout camps that I attend, Randsburg down in Bloomington, Indiana. Again, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts practice it very heavily. So again, Sustainable Centerville, Centerville, Ohio is where I live, and we've got a group that is working to keep our environment green, working on that. And then TRC is where I work, and I've actually been asked to be and a part of the Sustainability Coordinator Network. We got 5,000 employees, over 300 offices, and here in the Dayton office, I'm the Sustainable Coordinator. So if you want to contact me and ask me questions about that, that's my contact information. And let's get going. Once I put my arrow there we go. This was a presentation for the Centerville Washington Park District. I wanted to get them involved, so I do reach out, and I wanted to try and get the camp counselors to try and promote it to the camp, the little campers this year. I presented it, but I wasn't able to work out and get to the counselors. But I'll just skip through this slide real quick. This is just, some fun jokes, the acceptable butts in the backcountry and the unacceptable ones. And that's just friendly Mr. Polar Bear there asking if he wants to talk about climate change. I talk about climate change as much as possible. Then in the bottom left-hand corner, the Leave No Trace, the organization, they have traveling Leave No Trace trainers. As an individual, you can put your stuff in storage for a year, you jump in one of the Subarus, and you travel the country, going from stop to stop, and then promoting Leave No Trace. So that's just those 3 pictures real quick. Park info, gonna skip that one. But again, Leave No Trace. Leave No Trace was formed in the early 90s. It was kind of a conglomeration of all the different people that had the concept of outdoor ethics. How do we make it, how do we live better in our outdoor environment? So Leave No Trace is, kind of formed by, there's some government agencies, Department of Interior, kind of put it all together. And we have this one, .org. It is a nonprofit. We are accepting members. If you want to go to lnt.org and sign up, donate, and then you'll get on the newsletters. So obviously we see this ugly recyclable bottle that we see everywhere, and we want to get that put in the right place, and which we'll talk about soon. So our mission is to protect the outdoors by teaching and inspiring people to enjoy it responsibly. Sierra Club members, we're great. We love the environment. We're tree huggers, but can we do better? And hopefully with this presentation with Leave No Trace, just gives you that 7 principles, those guiding principles on how to be better in the outdoor environment. We want to minimize impacts in the outdoors. We're allowed to go outdoors, but again, we have to share it with everybody, including our local environment. Here we have the bird with the fishing twine. It's going to affect the wildlife and the soils, and we'll definitely get into that in a little bit. When you go camping and you leave the campsite, everybody's walked up on that campsite on Friday night with all that trash thrown around. We can do better, and hopefully we can teach people to do better. Again, the water resources, lakes and streams, they're a great place to go, but there are responsibilities when you go into those areas, because you are affecting the environment. So let me just run down. If you're not familiar with the 7 principles, they are: plan ahead and prepare, travel and camp on durable surfaces, dispose of waste properly, leave what you find, or take only pictures, leave only footprints. Principle 5, minimize campfire impact. Principle 6, respect wildlife. And then last one, 7, being be considerate of others, of other visitors. So that's kind of the generic form. But what I'd like to teach you guys at home is the quick hand signals. So I'll go through them fast. And again, I'll do them over and over. Again, this is how we get our human brains to understand different things. So principle 1 is plan and prepare. So this is your pencil, and this is your piece of paper. So you're going to write your plan down. You're going to do research. You're going to write things down. Or principle number 1, you're reading a book. So you lick your finger and you're reading a book. You're doing research on a book. Or of all those old hunter and peckers, this is your keyboard. So you're doing research on your keyboard. So know before you go is another explanation of principle number 1, but it's make a plan before you go out in the outdoors. Principle 2 is hike and camp. This is your tent, and camp on durable surfaces. So hike and camp on durable surfaces. This is stay on the trail. Don't just go into the woods and pitch your tent. Make sure you're in an outdoor area. Make sure it's a clean and it is a campsite. Principle 3, dispose of waste properly. Principle 3, if we all know what letter that is a W, not an E, it's a W. W stands for waste. So we want, there's a term called pack it in, pack it out. So before you go out in the outdoors, if you've got, if you're going to be meeting with people, you need to bring the cardboard container with all the ingredients, or with all the snacks. Leave the cardboard at home. Minimize what you're actually bringing out to the environment, and then pack it in, pack it out. any kind of trash that you bring out, bring it back. Recycle as much as possible. Reduce, reuse, recycle. That's also principle number 3. Something that my scouts laugh at when I talk about principle number 3: dispose of waste properly. We are all human beings, and we do number 1 and number 2. We want to make sure that that gets packed out. Find the latrine, use the facilities. But if you can't, if you're if you're in the back country, principle number 3: put your fingers together. That makes your cat hole. Make sure it's 8 inches down, cover back up, and then obviously it'll biodegrade. We want to go down deep enough so that the other animals don't smell it. So that's principle number 3. Principle number 4: take these 2 fingers and these 2 fingers, put this one down, and then close it like this, and you've got your camera. Take only pictures, leave only footprints, and kill only time. So when you're out in the environment, stay on the trail, take only pictures, don't bring the environment back. And there's another principle or another part of the principle we talk about is don't steal someone's wow. That is, if I'm hiking on the trail and I look down and I see deer antlers, what's the first thing I do? I pick them up, I take them with me, and I want to show everybody at home, wow, I found some deer antlers. Then, Barry is behind me and he's walking on the trail and he's not going to be able to see those deer antlers. I have stolen his wow. So principle number 4, don't steal someone's wow. Take a picture, show everybody. Don't pick the flower. Let the flower be. Don't pick up the fossil. Don't pick up different things. Leave it in the environment for someone else to see. So that's principle number 4. Principle number 5 is minimize campfire impact. If I'm a Boy Scout and I go camping with Boy Scouts, we love to make big fires. But part of principle number 1 is, do you need a fire? Do you need a fire for cooking? Do you need a fire for warmth? Or you just want to have a fire? Again, principle number 5 is minimize campfire impact. Make sure you find the fire ring, clean out the fire ring, have a fire bucket, have a tool that you're going to be able to use to douse the fire. So anything that has to do with fire. When you go camping, principle number 1 is there a burn permit, or is there a burn ban where you're going? These are types of things all wrapped around with principle number 5. Principle number 6 is 3 fingers and 3 fingers, and you're going to be a deer. These are your antlers. So principle number 6 is respect wildlife. So when you're in the outdoors, and I teach my scouts, don't chase the squirrels, don't chase the deer. We're in their neighborhood, we're in their environment. Just leave them alone, and be peaceful and commingle. One thing that we talk about is the thumb. If you can hold up your thumb and cover the animal, you are at a safe distance to observe. So if you're on the trail, just stop. Maybe if deer's crossing or an animal's crossing, just stop. Let them be. Let them be on their way, and everything will be fun. Will be good. Another hand signal for number 6 is 5 + 1, and you make a turkey. Is another way to understand principle number 6. Principle number 7 is 5 + 2. Be peaceful and friendly when you're on the trail. So principle number 7 talks about when you go camping and you got your Bluetooth speaker, don't be blasting your Bluetooth speaker at 11:30 at night. Be conscious of other people while they're camping. Another thing for principle number 7 is if you're hiking on the trail and you found a muddy spot and you're past the muddy spot and someone's coming your way, you stop, say hi, and then warn them of the danger. Say, hey, it's pretty slippery over there. Make sure you go on the left-hand side, right-hand side, that type of thing. So be peaceful and friendly in the outdoors. So I went really fast. We'll go through a couple more slides and then we'll come back to the hand signals. We'll let you guys practice them. So next slide. Again, it gets into the nitty-gritty of leaving no trace. So, principle or public land use. all these millions of people visiting, they've been able to track them. The U.S. Forester Service or Forest Service, some visitors go there. They go to the national parks, and again, this is from a couple years ago. Obviously, COVID has skewed all of these numbers. Your state park system, something in your backyard. A lot of people are going to visit the backyard, and now we've got more visitors going outdoors. So this is a great opportunity to tell those people that are getting out of their house and going to the environment is, hey, we've got these 7 principles you want to teach you and make sure you're living by them. This is kind of an example. This is a great, you got the cars parked over there. It's a park, this is kind of, it's just freshly mowed in, March or April, not a whole lot of traffic, but, then we get into May, it's nicer. It's getting warmer. We got some more people utilizing the surface, so the grass is getting kind of matted. We got some more people. We're getting some brown spots. So it's, July or June, they're having some more impact. So just to go back, if you understand the different 7 principles, we want to make sure that we do, as human beings, have an impact in our environment. We want to make sure it's going to be, we consciously know before we go that we're actually impacting our environment. Again, talk about the number of trash that we have out there. Make sure you pack it in, pack it out. Leave no trace. We're science-based. We've got plenty of different volunteers throughout the nation reporting back to the main organization. There's the term that we use is called hotspots. There are different parts of the country where the impact of their human beings has gone down, or it is greatly impacting a certain park. We'll consider it a hotspot, and then we'll actually have volunteers come in and try and clean it up and try and bring it back to its a natural area, or not that natural, but bring it back to the park the way it's way it was presented, and then be able to jumpstart from there and promote the 7 principles and just make revive that area. Up here in Centerville, even north of us in Springfield, there was an area that was rock climbing, and somebody bought that area and basically just dumped a bunch of trash in that gorge. We considered a hot spot. Came in, we got a bunch of different volunteers. We cleaned out that area, and now it's a great area to go rock climbing. I haven't been there just yet, but I know that's the kind of impact that Leave No Trace as an organization can have if you consider it some hot spots. So the power of Leave No Trace is education. You're all joining, you may have heard about it, or maybe you're smarter than me, and I'd love to hear what you have to tell me at the very end, but we've got to promote these principles. I've got young Girl Scouts, young Boy Scouts that we're trying to teach these outdoor ethics, but anybody can learn, and we want to make sure more and more public has that. So it's the power of education that we're trying to do. Leave No Trace, it's in the backcountry. It started in the backcountry, and then it kind of started working towards the cities. So in the city parks. Like I said, in the early 90s is what all these different organizations came together. Now there's 700 partners throughout the nation, over 35,000 trained volunteers, me being one of them. Again, the history of the organization, what we can do today, how we can reach people. You're joining in today and you want to learn about it. We want to make sure that you contact other people. What you learned tonight, tell a coworker, tell a family member, find that young person, and just go, have you heard of it? Start planting those seeds and letting our organization grow, letting these seven principles known, and put it all together. So like I said, a bunch of organizations, obviously the youth programs, both Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts promote Leave No Trace. It's part of some of their badge requirements, or in the rank advancements, they have to learn about Leave No Trace and then discuss it and how to implement it in different campouts. So partnerships. Again, what I'm trying to do is get Centerville Park Districts to be a joining partner so that we can promote it within the parks. I know the Metro Parks up here in Montgomery County, they have it on their website. They're not so much signage. I'd love to have more signage, where I can go, so that people can see the sign, have questions on it, and actually learn more about the 7 principles. So obviously corporate partnership. Again, Sierra Club, I believe is a partner, but I don't know if if it goes down to individual organizations. But again, we promote the 7 principles as an organization. Members and volunteers, again, if you want to go to the website and sign up, that's definitely an opportunity. And we got federal partners, national parks, all our state parks, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, they promote it on their website as well. And like I talked about, education and training. This is a good point for me to stop and tell how I got my title, or how I got involved. I was able to go at a summer camp with my Boy Scouts as they're off doing their merit badges. I actually went to class. We had a class where we had a master educator come to the Boy Scout camp, and I had 16 hours of training. I had 8 hours of classroom and then 8 hours of an overnight. So we talked about 7 principles in the classroom, and then we left camp, hiked about 4 miles away, was able to set up camp, and then we lived the 7 principles, for that, 8 hours at night. So, again, discussing on the hike out, being able to have them minimize our campfire impact. It had rained that night, so we were trying to find some dry tinder and fuel. Was able to find just a little bit, but it took us about a good hour to start our fire. But and then obviously hike back. So that's how I got educated, or and my training, and that's why hopefully I can share this information with you guys. And again, awareness workshop. This is necessarily the workshop. This is more just kind of a discussion that we're having. The trainer course is what I'm at, and then you can obviously do the master educator course. I joke that if I want a quick divorce, I'll sign up for that course, and I'm gone for 5 days, away from my wife. When I get older, my kids will a little bit older, I might be able to actually, to pursue that. So, online training, lnt.org, leavenotrace.org. It's a great resource. Just pop on there and get some information. How to get involved, learn it, love it, live it. I'm a big promoter of that information. I'm not, don't have, if you want to join, obviously you guys are Sierra Club members, but you can also be a member of Leave No Trace. We're always looking for those resources. Get involved and then pass it on. Plant those seeds when it comes to those 7 principles is what we're hoping to do. And it's just obviously enjoy the world. Let me back up to that. So let me stop sharing so we can see all, well, actually, let me leave it here. Let me go through the if everybody, put down their mouse and get their fingers ready. So principle number 1, principle number 1, plan and prepare, write your book, go in the computer, jot down the information, do research before you go. Principle number 2, hike and camp on a durable surface. What I teach about, staying on the trail is if you go off trail, you're actually going into the animal's, habitat. I use the example of the bunny rabbit. If you start walking off the trail, you might go past the bunny rabbit's house, and then he comes back to the house, he smells you, he's gonna go, uh-oh, there's a human in the area, and he may leave his house. So you've actually disrupted the ecosystem if you go off trail. Again, we're humans. We think we own everything, but let's try and share everything. So again, that's principle number 2, stay on the trail, and then camp where possible. Principle number 3, W, is for waste. Dispose of waste properly, pack it in, pack it out, recycle as much as possible. If you see trash in the environment, pack it out. If you don't pick it up, who else will? Let's try and keep our environment clean. And W, put your fingers together, dig your cat hole. Make sure you use the train. Again, you have your own waste. Make sure you dispose of your own waste as much as possible. Principle number 4, put your finger this way, close it together. You've got your camera. Leave only footprints. Take only pictures. Leave only footprints, and kill only time. I know we have some hunters, friends that are hunters. yes, hunting is a great, activity, but I want to make sure that all the animals are living their great life. Haven't shot anything, but I don't plan to either. So that's principle number 4. Principle number 5: fire. Wiggle those fingers. Minimize campfire impact. Do you need a fire when you go camping, for warmth, or where's the fire ring? Make sure you got your tools. Make sure you got your fire bucket, so that if you do start a fire, be able to put it out. Principle number 6 is your deer antlers. Respect wildlife. Know that when you're on the outdoors, you're infecting the environment. And then principle number 7 is 5 + 2. Be peaceful and friendly in the outdoor manner, or in your outdoor manner. So, that's pretty much a nice little blitz for a half an hour. Hopefully, it wasn't too boring. I'm going to stop the presentation, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Barry to see if we can have a lively discussion.
Okay, thanks, Rod. Appreciate that. And I believe we've just set it up so that people can unmute themselves. So if you would like to throw a question out, feel free to do that. I did have a question, and
Sure.
I'll start it off because I threw this one in the chat. This is something that I've just heard different perspectives on. I don't know whether Leave No Trace has a rule around this, and that's the use of soap, even biodegradable soap, in the backcountry. I know Sierra Club has a policy around that. I can go into that, but I wasn't sure if Leave No Trace had any specifics around.
There's not necessarily a guideline. They, in terms of principle number 2, hike and camp on durable surface, they talk about setting your camp at least 200 feet away from a body of water, having your cooking away from, from where you sleep, having that triangle. They talk about that. They don't promote one soap or the other. Most of the times, if I go camping, I'll clean my dishes on Saturday, but then on Sunday, I'll just pack them out and clean them at home. So I'm not having that area. Yes, you can have gray water areas. When you're in more of a state camp, you have that ability. But when you are doing the dishes, we talk about not just taking the dish soap and dumping, broadcasting. Take it and spread it out in a larger area and be able to dissipate it, faster. So at least that's what I've been trained. I don't know if anybody else has any, anything to add about soap in the environment.
Well, Sierra Club takes the position of one, discouraging it at all. Even biodegradable soap, from what I understand, doesn't really degrade or degrade at least easily. And if you are going to use soap, our rule is never use it directly in a water source. So never use it in the stream, never use it in the lake. Take water away from the stream of the lake, to your point, being about 200 feet away. Do whatever you're going to do, washing yourself or washing something, and then either, like you said, broadcast it or sump it, the capital sump it. So that's kind of the Sierra Club rules around that, but which we're all consistent with principle 2. But,
yes.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone else has.
So we just had a comment from Andy in the chat box that says, Leave No Trace does say to try to avoid using soap if you can when you're in the backcountry. So which would be consistent with the Sierra Clubs too as well. Andy also is asking, this is a great, he's setting up a great discussion for you here. If I eat an apple on a hike, can I throw my apple core into the woods? It's biodegradable and apple trees can be found in Ohio.
Yes, if I could answer that one from Captain Blue, who I've met personally. No, do not throw your apple core. Do not throw your banana peel at people. Do not throw your orange slices. Those are, it could be considered an invasive species. It is not part of that environment. We want you to pack it in and then pack it out. There are different, disposable containers, garbage cans. back when you get back at the parking lot, we want you to pack it in, pack it out. Not just chuck it in there, because yes, there are apple trees found in Ohio, but when I go to my local parks in Montgomery County here, I don't see apple trees along the trail. And if I take that apple core, the seed could grow, and it could actually pull from the nutrients from the actual trees that are there. And then actually principle number 6, respect wildlife. You're introducing another food source, so that bunny rabbit might go, hey, that apple tree sounds pretty good, and it will go away from its natural food source, disrupt the environment. So yes, apple cores and banana peels, they are biodegradable, and we want you to go home and compost it, but pack it in, pack it out.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Actually, we've had that conversation with a lot of different people, but everything from coffee grounds to apple cores, banana peels, to crumbs from your sandwich. And I especially like your second point about how it changes the behavior of the wildlife. So as soon as an animal, once an animal has had a chance to taste people's food and find a place where it was readily available and maybe it tastes kind of good, apples and whatever, then they begin to become habituated to people, and also are then attracted to places where people are. They become a nuisance, and that never ends well for the animal. Plus, as you said, it changes their natural foraging behaviors, and none of those things are good for them. And that's not what they were, that's not what they would normally be eating. That's not what their bodies are meant to consume. So yeah, things that are biodegradable can still have a serious impact on the environment, on the wildlife that we find.
I once read an interesting example of the disrupting behavior, which I have no idea if this is true. This is what I read, though, and it involved throwing apple cores and that sort of thing out of a car window on the highway.
Oh, yeah.
And the author was saying that never do that. And the reason they gave was that would actually attract mice to the food that's along the highway now. And the mice would in turn attract raptors, who would now swoop down and try and get those mice crossing the highway. And when you had a raptor swooping down and crossing the highway, it would be hit by a semi-truck. So this author's theory, anyway, I don't know if there's theory or something that actually had data on, was that by throwing that apple core out, you were actually putting raptors at risk along the highway. No idea if that's true, but if it's true, it's certainly an interesting example.
Another question, this one's from Jenny. When in the backcountry, should you avoid building a campfire unless you're using an area where there was a previous campfire, or not build one at all?
I would say, principle number 5, minimize campfire impact. You can build a fire. If you're in a grassy area, you can actually, scalp the sod, peel it back. Then you're in the dirt source. You can cook your fire, put it out, level it off, and then actually put the grass back down. You're able to feed yourself with a fire, and then obviously get those feed yourself in terms of survival mode, or if you're camping, and then place the grass back down. Backcountry, need a fire. You can skip the fire altogether and get your jet boil or all the other backpacking camp stoves. Utilize that piece, but make sure where you set it up. I don't think there are picnic tables 3 miles in, but get a clear area, and if it's on a rock or a flat surface, set up your stove, and then again, minimizing campfire impact is doing a fire safely. So
certainly, I know people, I have some Sierra Club members who absolutely will not build a fire in the backcountry, and I respect that. I personally really enjoy the ambiance of a small, inoffensive, hopefully, fire. But I do have hiked with people who will take a square of tinfoil and put a candle on it. And, that's their campfire. doesn't quite do the trick for me. The interesting, I think, kind of corollary to all that, the other debate that I often encounter is, what, if anything, are you allowed to burn in a campfire? Because some people, of course, will take a paper wrapper or something like that, and they'll just toss it in the campfire.
Right.
And of course, then ensues this big debate about should you, in fact, burn anything in your campfire other than wood. I don't know if you, Rob, have a strong opinion on that one. Or...
I do, and when we go on a camp out, whoever builds the fire Friday night or builds it Saturday, it's their fire. So we tell younger scouts that you can't just throw stuff into the fire. Whose fire is it? Who's responsible for the fire? And if that scout leaves or that adult leaves, they hand off the responsibility to somebody else. And we've got plenty of trash bags when we go camping, and we actually haul back to the church. We've actually got a recycling bin at our church, so we can actually we use white trash bags for recycling and black bags for trash. So we're able to separate it that way. But it gets down to having that recycling bin, having that area, and not just throwing anything in the fire. And obviously, you got to teach our scouts what greenwood is and what downwood is. Downwood will burn better. Greenwood doesn't. It just sits there and smokes. So again, having that education of what you can and can't burn, make sure it's the dead wood. Put that together.
And the other thing that we tell people when this inevitable debate ensues when somebody throws their Cliff Bar wrapper in the fire is that nothing we've carried into the backcountry is all natural, right? It's all got printing chemicals of some kind impregnated in it. So whatever you're throwing that into the fire, those chemicals are going into that fire and eventually into the environment. How big an impact is that? I don't know, but we preach the same thing that you just said, Rob. If you brought it in, then you take it out. Mm-hmm. Unless you found it there, you leave it there.
Right. Obviously, when you go to the state park and you look in the fire pit, you see all the remnants of everything else. I'll take my trash bag. I'll actually clean up the fire before I start my fire because I don't want any additional chemicals being released into the environment. So.
Randy's got another teaser out there for you, Rob. Deer, coyotes, and other mammals poop in the woods. Why do I need to pick up and pack out my pet dog's poop when I'm out hiking?
Yes, clean up after Spot or Fido, because they have their own food. They're in the backyard. They might have eaten something. They've ingested something. And if they go into the woods, then you're introducing, something else to the environment. We want you to, clean up after your dog and not expose the outdoors to, whatever could be in that feces. There could be diseases, something else that, if you leave the dog poop, other animals might come by, forage through it, and introduce different things. So, I have not policed people who don't have their dogs on a leash. Sometimes I'll ask them and remind them that there's a leash law. But ultimately, they let the leash out. They go into the woods. The dog leaves it there, and they keep walking. And like I said, I've only had one instance where I've actually asked them to clean it up, and they did. They may have put it in a bag. Then I kept hiking. They may have just tossed the bag in the woods. Who knows? But education, making sure that everybody understands the 7 principles, and then we live by those 7 principles.
Yeah, I personally think the simple answer to that question is because it's gross and I don't want to step in your dog's poop. And I can't do anything about the deer, I can't do anything about the rabbits, but I can do something about your dog.
Right. Something that I do, when we're sitting around the campfire, well, let me just back up. With our Boy Scout troop, we actually have a troop position that a younger scout actually becomes the outdoor ethics guide for the troop. So in his 1-year tenure, he kind of helps the scouts plan the camp out, And when we're on the camp, make sure that the recycling, make sure we put it together, and then just remind everybody at a campsite. But there's a game that Leave No Trace plays. It's okay versus no way. So they're on the website. There's there's pre-made cards, but then there's blank cards. So if you're sitting around, if you're camping with 5 or 6 of your friends, print these out and have a quick discussion. It's a nice training material. So I hand them out to the scouts, and then we go one by one and have a quick discussion. So it's a nice little 10-minute refresher when we're sitting around the campfire to understand if it's way or no way. So leaving your dog's poop at the side of the trail is no way. We don't want you to do that. So.
Deborah threw a question out in the chat, not specifically Leave No Trace, but it's an interesting question. I'll throw it out to the group and see if anyone knows this. Are there any organizations currently working towards minimizing the loss of wildlife due to auto accidents?
I do know out west, they are actually building bridges from one area to the next, and actually putting making it 50 feet wide, not for cars, and actually allowing the animals go from one side of the interstate to the other. I don't know how many they've built. I do know the concept is there, so we're allowing the animals to travel back and forth, so they're not running across the area. I'd say the Department of Transportation definitely doesn't want the deer crossing the road, so they might be trying to do something. So if anybody else has anything else to add.
I can tell you, we just got back from Colorado and South Dakota, and we passed a lot of those bridges, and they also had wildlife fencing along the road so that the animals would be sort of channeled to where those bridges were. But it was fun. It was good to see that.
Sure.
Yep. And I'm guessing the stations behind that are either the land management, so the Forest Service or whoever, or the highway people themselves who are trying to, Department of Transportation trying to minimize accidents. I don't know if there's any. I've never heard of an environmental type organization that's dedicated to that. I'm sure people like PETA already think about that sort of thing. Maybe.
Right.
Good question. Any other burning questions out there?
I just want to say I like what Andy put out there about the 3Ds of collecting firewood. I don't know if everybody is watching the chat, but that was a good one. Make sure it's dead, downed, and dinky.
Something else I might want to bring up, if you've ever been around, someone talking about Leave No Trace, or you've been to, different types of conventions or something, if these cards, they list the 7 principles, but then up here they have a specific one. This is just the generic card that I start out with. It's outdoor ethics. It's got a front and back. I clip it on the back of my backpack, so I'm walking around camp. A scouter might ask, "Hey, what's that?" And of course, I suck them in for about 3-minute discussion on talking about Leaving No Trace, and hopefully they again planting the seeds and growing out there. But it's not just the generic one. There's about 16 different colors. You found on the different website. So each activity that you might have, it breaks those down into the specific 7 principles. There's fishing, hunting, boating, bouldering, backcountry, front country. They have the whole set. If you can, grab the whole set from lnt.org from the store, bring it on a camp out, discuss it with your friends, study them. And then, when you're going to do that activity, just pull that out, put it on your backpack. And then, again, when you're around other people doing that activity, you can promote the 7 principles that way.
So I ran across something else that was in a blog on the leavenotrace.org website that I thought was really interesting and helpful, and it was called the Authority of the Resource, and it basically was talking about ways of sharing the information with others that are more likely to be heard and accepted. I had to cringe. I was maybe 2 years ago, there was a video going around where somebody who was a real strong Leave No Trace advocate came up to a family who was at, I think, someplace in Red River Gorge, and the dad was busily carving at their initials in the rocks. And the person who ran across that started videotaping them and was saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing? That's terrible. Don't you know what kind of damage it is?" And just totally shaming the man instead of trying to, like, in an informative, educational kind of way, inform him of what the impacts were, what the harm is, and that sort of impact. And naturally, the guy responded very defensively, as opposed to something that would be more like, "Oh, gee, I didn't know. Oh, I won't do that anymore." You know. Anyway, it's out there on the LeaveNoTrace.org website under their blogs, and again, it's referenced as the authority of the resource, which I thought was really helpful.
Right. One thing that Captain Blue, or as it's Andy's hiking name, is the mascot. Yes, there's an unofficial mascot for Leave No Trace, and that is Bigfoot. He's been doing it for years, and we still haven't been able to find him. So if Bigfoot can do it, so can you. Again, take those 7 principles. You won't be able to find him. He packs it in, he packs it out. He disposes of his waste. You can't find him. So think like Bigfoot when you're out in the outdoors, and make sure you've got that. You're minimizing your impact when you're out in the outdoors.
Sounds great. All right, if there are no more questions, I think we'll wrap it up. I want to thank you again, Rob. Appreciate it, and thank everyone for joining us. Appreciation again to our partners in this, Roads, Rivers, and Trails, Milford, and Summit Trek and Trail, which is Nancy's organization. If you're ever here to check them out. And of course, if you're interested in checking out Sierra Club, please find us on our website. If you'd like to become a member or join or make a donation, or if you are an experienced outdoor person, we're always looking for new leaders to help us out in taking our in-person outings, excursions. So check us out, and absolutely join us on Meetup so you can find out what's going on. Nancy, would you add anything to that? Did I miss anything?
I think you got it all. It's good.
All right, great.
It'd be great to see some of you on the trail.
All right. Take care, everyone, and have a great evening.